Do you ever need to wipe out half of the universe with a single snap of your fingers, but don't have the space for a full-size Infinity Gauntlet? I'm Mark, and today I'm going to make the world's smallest Infinity Gauntlet. Keep watching. If you don't know what this is, shame on you. You can't watch a nerd video on YouTube without knowing that this is an Infinity Gauntlet, which was the central MacGuffin from the movie Infinity War. And here is the world's smallest Infinity Gauntlet. Okay, maybe it's not the world's smallest Infinity Gauntlet, I haven't actually fact-checked this, but it is the world's cutest Infinity Gauntlet. The inspiration from this build came from a fellow by the name of The Broken Nerd, and a link to his YouTube channel will be in the description below. The Broken Nerd has made his own Infinity Gauntlets and they are epic. While building his most recent version, he happened to tweet a photo that contained a test print. It was just a small-scale version of his Infinity Gauntlet. When I saw his test print, I thought, hey, I would love to do my own version of this, except not just a test print. I want to finish it. So what do I have to do? Well, I have to print it, paint it, weather it, print, mold and cast 6 Infinity Gems, find the right color LEDs, wire them up and give them power. Now I could talk about this some more. How about we just check it out? So that's my build, and I'm super happy with how this tiny gauntlet came out. I did something a little bit different from usual with this, and I used Model Masters lacquer for the metallic effect on the paint job. A big thanks to Bill Duran from Punish Props for his recommendation on that paint. It blows away the others that I've tried. Once I finished the paint job, I weathered the gauntlet with oil paints. This was a little bit of a learning curve for me, as I found that the oil paints that I was quite used to reactivated the lacquer finish that I'd airbrushed on. That's not a big deal, as I was being pretty careful. However, I did have to spray a coat of varnish on top of the lacquer in order to protect it before I weathered it. The LEDs were a little bit interesting. I can already hear some people thinking, why did he use coloured LEDs? Why didn't he just use white LEDs? Well, the reason for that is that LEDs are usually monochromatic, which means they only emit light on a very specific frequency. If I put a white LED behind a coloured gem, it's just going to look like a white LED behind a coloured gem. To get a rich, vibrant colour, I had to put a coloured LED behind the coloured gem, and as you can see, that worked out pretty well. Let's talk about lessons learned. If I could change anything with this build, what would it be? You know what? I cheated. This is actually my second build. I printed another one of these a month ago, but it had a bunch of issues, as you can see from the missing fingers and the cracks all through the model. Unfortunately, I printed it on my old DLP printer and with a resin I hated. Unfortunately, even after curing, the thing was oozing resin, and it still continues to ooze resin, and that stuff is just not good for you. Never handled UV cured resin without gloves. Don't listen to anyone who tells you otherwise. The oozing resin meant that the paint started to come off, plus I found that the model wasn't really large enough to do anything inside with the wiring for the LEDs. It just needed to be a touch bigger. So with this version, I printed it on my Peopoly Moai. I also managed to print it slightly thinner, which gave me enough room to work inside the models to get the LEDs done, and you can see they're all housed in there comfortably. Now, even after doing this a couple of times, I still have some things I'd probably fix if I were to make this a third time. There are a few tiny artifacts from the print which messes with my perfectionism, and I would also try to find a better purple LED. Purple LEDs are quite hard to find because there are so few options in that spectrum, and the colours tend to be a bit pink or skewed towards ultraviolet, which makes them really hard to see. The LEDs happily run on a 3.7 volt battery, which is concealed inside the wrist of the gauntlet. That's going to be able to power it for quite some time. In fact, I haven't disconnected this in 2 days and it's still going just fine. The casting of the stones themselves turned out great. It was something I'd never done before, and honestly, I can't think of a way I could have improved the results. So, that's my Tiny Infinity Gauntlet, and as I said, I'm thrilled with how it turned out, and it's going to have a place of pride upstairs in my collection. I do have a question though, after all that effort. Does this gauntlet actually work? I can't snap my glove fingers because I can't get my fingers inside the gauntlet, but I can snap my other hand with my fingers inside the gauntlet. Doesn't seem to have worked. Probably for the best. Oh well, moving on. Thank you for watching this video, and if you liked this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons below. If you'd like to see more behind the scenes content, you can follow me on Twitter at mrhodes or at markoftheroads on Insta. Oh. Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.